say, if there was like Oscars given to animals, like animal performances, every single animal in this movie would have gotten an Oscar. Like Black Phillip, that goat. Good lord, that goat. Oh, man. That goat. Apparently he was really hard to work with. But all of the other animals, like there's a hare in this movie, there's like a crow, just very spooky animals. Like all they had to do was be on screen and I was like, well, I'm spooked.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
The Witch was written and directed by Robert Eggers, and it stars a lot of great but mostly unknowns. I'm reviewing this movie because it is a very polarizing film. You either love it or you hate it. And I watched it recently, and I personally loved it. But I understand both sides of this, and hopefully I can shed some light on both arguments. It follows a family who is basically too hardcore Puritan Christian for the community they live in, and are banished to live out deep in the woods. Some unfortunate and slightly supernatural things begin to happen, which begins to cause paranoia in the family, and they are slowly beginning to turn on each other. This movie is a huge variety of a mixture of a bunch of different genres, but it tends to go a little bit deeper than just the stereotype of said genre. It's more than just a horror movie. It's more than just a coming-of-age period piece. And like I said, this is a cast of mostly unknowns, but Jesus Christ did they all do a great job in this movie. The film mostly centers around the eldest daughter, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, and this was such a knockout performance by someone who's pretty new to the game. As the director himself has said, this actress, it's very apparent that she's not this hardcore Puritan like the rest of her family is. And she did a really good job of making us feel her struggles through the screen. Like she just reached out and said, hey, you know my struggles? Here, let me rub my struggles on your face. And when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I thought she was that girl, Mia Wasikowska. You know, the girl who plays Alice in the new Alice in Wonderland movies. Mia Wasikowska. Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski.
This girl is going places. She is beautiful and talented, and she kicked butt in this movie. The guy who plays the dad, I don't remember his name, but I don't know where they found this guy. Apparently he did like a couple appearances on Game of Thrones, and his voice is just the coolest voice you'll ever hear in your entire life. Like the movie starts out with him talking, and I was hooked. I was like, alright, you got me. Whatever this dude says, I will listen to it. And let me say there are a lot of very thick accents in this movie. It's very thick accents. Like I said, when the movie starts off and it's this guy's like really gravelly, beautiful voice, I was like, okay, subtitles. The woman who played the mother also did a great job. Just this mom slowly losing her mind as her family's falling apart. She played it very well. Harvey Scrimshaw plays the second oldest child, and good lord did he kill this performance. He was good all the way through, but there was one scene in particular. One really great scene. It was this very long take. It just showed how good this kid is at acting. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but this scene, whoa. I felt like I needed like a seatbelt to strap myself in during this scene, because it was a ride. Then there's the twins of this movie. And I mean, they could just be two normal twins, but no, even the twins were good at acting. The little girl, I found the little twin girl just to be the most entertaining thing. And kudos to all of the actors in this movie, because they talk like they're in the 1860s. Like they use ye old English, you know, like Bible talk. And it wasn't exaggerated like a Shakespeare movie, you know, like they overacted when they used the ye's and the thees and the what have you. You know, every time I hear the word ye, I think of that dinosaur. But when these actors used this old English talk, it felt natural. It felt like how they would have used it back then. It was just fluent for them, and Jesus Christ did they do well with this. And I really think credit goes to the director for all that. Robert Eggers actually studied like old school folk tales. He read up on journals from this time period, and he did all this research for like 5 years before he made this movie. Robert Eggers is a name I'm going to be following very closely. He directed this film masterfully, and there's a very apparent Kubrick influence in the way he shoots things. There are some very long shots, but these long shots aren't full of themselves. Sometimes when a director does like a really long take, he'll let you know that this is a long take, and he'll add in little things just to spice it up. But this never feels like it's full of itself. It never feels like, oh, This is great, and we know it's great. And instead of jump scares, it's this tension that would normally build to jump scares. And because of the way horror movies are now, we're expecting a jump scare, but because there's a lack of a jump scare, oh, you're on edge, man. When it's just building up to something and then you don't get that, it pays off. And it's really well done. And there are certain shots in this movie that will stay with me for the rest of my life. Like, it doesn't shove it down your throat that something very disturbing is happening. But because your mind is working and because you're thinking, because you're a person and that's what you're supposed to do, there is some very disturbing imagery in it because you're thinking about it, because your mind is working, and you make it disturbing. And that's what really sends it home with this movie. It's just the imagery that it gives you. And shout out to Jarin Blaschke. Jarin Blaschke. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but you deserve some credit because this guy did a kick-ass job at cinematography in this movie. Apparently, 95% of this movie was done like The Revenant style, where it was all natural lighting, which is extremely hard to work with. The sun is a douchebag. Don't trust the sun. Some complain that the movie was a little too dark and too bleak, but this is 1860s Massachusetts. That wasn't a colorful place. So let's talk about how polarizing this film is. It currently has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes with the critics. The audience gave it 55%. That is a huge difference. Why is that? Marketing, dude. Marketing. I will admit, the trailers for this movie are very misleading. They're marketed towards the hardcore horror fans. So I understand why people going into this movie were a little disappointed, because it's not what they thought they were going to get. I feel like a lot of people went into this movie expecting just a whole lot of jump scares and a lot of things to just spook you, when actually it was just an unnerving period piece. Really well done unnerving period piece though, because you do feel like you're in that time. You feel like you're in that time period. So as a period piece that happens to have some supernatural things going on, it's very, very well done. People were expecting The Conjuring going into this movie, but instead they got something along the lines of The Shining or Rosemary's Baby. Something that's like a slow burn horror movie. I don't even know if you can consider this a horror movie. Sure, there's some extremely unnerving scenes, but there's nothing that just goes boo. It's just, it's creepy. It's very, very creepy. This film is more about paranoia and the inner destruction of a family, like just the deconstruction of a family through paranoia. It has messages, like really deep messages on really tough topics like religion and family. The ending is also extremely polarizing. You either love it or you hate it. I'm not gonna lie, I had to sit on this one to like fully form an opinion on this ending, which is awesome because I love thinking about a movie after it's ended. That's how I judge a movie, is how long it stays with me after the credits roll. And this one I was thinking about for a very, very long time. Like, I thought about this movie and its ending so much that the very next day, I went out and bought the Blu-ray. Yeah. Yep. This movie's, like, that thought-worthy. But what really sold me on my respect for this movie's ending was the tagline of the movie, the official tagline. Like, when the credits roll and it says, The Witch. Underneath The Witch it says, A New England Folktale. What Robert Eggers was trying to do with this movie was make a modern-day folktale. For 5 years, he's read up on every single folktale that he could get his hands on. He understands the structure of a folktale. Not all of them end happily ever after. This movie is a folktale from beginning to end, and I respect that because he stood his ground on what this movie was going to be. So if you're expecting a hardcore horror flick that's filled with gore and jump scares, this movie is not for you. If you're okay with the slow burn drama that has supernatural elements in it, you might dig this flick. The only thing that might be a downside of this movie is, when I say slow burn, I mean slow burn. It takes a little bit to get to its point, but I think, personally, that it's so beautifully shot that I don't even care. I'm going to give The Witch, A New England Folktale, 9.5 out of 10. It's worth your time, I promise you. Anyway, thank you for watching. Subscribe. Get others to subscribe, like tell other people about this. We're gonna make this big. We're gonna do something with this. And as always, watch movies, my friends.